A lot of people looking at IT certifications get stuck on one big question. What do I actually need to be allowed to take the exam? It's especially true for something like the CompTIA Network Plus. So today, we're going to break down exactly what the requirements are for the N10-008 exam as we head into 2025. Okay, so let's start with the basics. For the CompTIA Network Plus N10-008 certification, there isn't a strict mandatory prerequisite. But, and this is a big but, CompTIA strongly recommends you either have the A+ certification or at least 9 to 12 months of hands-on IT experience.
Right? It's less about a formal gatekeeper and more about a practical reality check. They're basically saying, look, we're not going to stop you from trying, but if you don't know your way around basic device configuration, TCP, IP, or how a simple home office network is set up, you're going to have a really rough time. It's like trying to run a marathon without ever having gone for a jog.
That makes perfect sense. So they want you to have that real-world grounding first. It's about building that essential foundation before you even think about the deeper networking concepts. Which, speaking of that, let's break down what exactly is covered in those 5 core domains of the N10-008 exam. To pass the exam, you need to master 5 main areas. First, there's networking concepts, which covers the fundamentals like OSI layers and wireless tech. Then, network hardware infrastructure, which is all about the physical gear and things like WANs. After that, network management, which deals with operations and virtualization.
And you can't forget the big ones.
Exactly. Network security, which is a huge focus on risks and defenses. And finally, tools for network and troubleshooting, which is all about your practical problem-solving skills.
It's a pretty comprehensive sweep, isn't it? They're really testing you on everything from the high-level theory down to the nitty-gritty of plugging things in and fixing what's broken.
I see.
You know, what's really interesting here is how it's structured. It's not just a random list of topics. It almost perfectly mirrors the entire life cycle of a network in the real world. You start with the theory, the concepts, then you physically build it with the hardware, then you manage it, you secure it, and finally you have the tools to troubleshoot it when it inevitably breaks. It's a complete journey.
That's a great way to look at it. It's about building a complete picture, not just memorizing isolated facts. So we know what's required and what's tested. But how does someone actually prepare for such a broad exam? Let's talk about some winning strategies. To really ace the N10-008 exam, a smart study strategy is key. The advice is pretty clear. Create a realistic plan and give yourself about 2 to 3 months to really dig in. It's also critical to use reliable, up-to-date resources like official guides, and this is one I always forget to actually take breaks and get enough sleep to avoid burnout.
Absolutely. And they also mention taking practice exams, which I think is probably the single most important piece of advice there.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's where theory meets reality. You can read books and watch videos all day, but until you sit down and face questions under a time limit, you don't really know what you know. It's the best way to find your blind spots. I've seen so many people fail because they used an outdated study guide or just passively consumed information without ever testing themselves. Practice exams force you to actively retrieve and apply the knowledge.
Got it? So it's a combination of smart planning, consistent effort, and a whole lot of self-assessment. With all this in mind, what's the ultimate takeaway for someone considering the Network Plus certification?
I think the big picture is this. The Network Plus N10-008 is still a really significant and valuable credential in the IT world. But success isn't just about booking the exam. It starts with having that foundational hands-on experience before you even begin studying. Then you have to understand that the exam covers that whole network lifecycle we talked about, from concepts and hardware all the way to security and troubleshooting. And finally, the path to passing is through a really disciplined, strategic study plan. You need dedicated time, good materials, and lots of practice. It's a challenging cert, but getting it is a major step forward for a networking career.